The Sustainable Development Goals are a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and improve the lives and prospects of everyone everywhere. The 17 goals were adopted by all UN member states in 2015 as part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which set out a 15-year plan to achieve the goals. Today, progress is being made in many places, but overall, action to meet the goals is not yet advancing at the speed or scale required. 2020 needs to usher in a decade of ambitious action to deliver the goals by 2030. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development provides a global blueprint for dignity, peace, and prosperity for people and the planet, now and in the future. A few years into the agenda, we see how civil society, private sector, and governments are translating this shared vision into national development plans and strategies. What is sustainable development? Sustainable development is how we must live today if we want a better tomorrow, by meeting present needs without compromising the chances of future generations to meet their needs. The survival of our societies and our shared planet depends on a more sustainable world. It's a bit of juggling act. Three different balls must be kept in the air at once: economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. If one or two fall to the ground, the act is over. Where development is sustainable, everyone has access to decent work, quality health care, and education. Natural resource use avoids pollution and permanent losses to the environment. Public policy choices ensure that no one is left behind due to disadvantages or discrimination. First sustainable development goal is no poverty. The goal is to end the poverty in all its forms everywhere by 2030. In 2015, more than 700 million people, or 10% of the world population, lived in extreme poverty, struggling to fulfill the most basic needs like health, education, and access to water and sanitation, to name a few. The COVID-19 pandemic will push an estimated 71 million additional people into extreme poverty, people living on less than $1.90 a day, causing the first increase in global poverty in more than 20 years. Even before COVID-19, baseline projections suggested that 6% of the global population would still be living in extreme poverty in 2030, missing the target of ending poverty. Having a job also does not guarantee a decent living. In fact, 71% of employed workers and their families worldwide lived in extreme poverty in 2019, a positive decline compared to 2010. But the number is expected to rise in light of the long-term consequences of the pandemic. 55% of the world's population, about 4 billion people, did not benefit from any form of social protection in 2016. Only 22% of unemployed workers were covered by unemployment benefits. Government can help create an enabling environment to generate productive employment and job opportunities for the poor and the marginalized. The private sector has a major role to play in determining whether the growth it creates is inclusive and contribute to poverty reduction. It can promote economic opportunities for the poor. Second sustainable development goal is zero hunger. To end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Extreme hunger and malnutrition remains a barrier to sustainable development and creates a trap from which people cannot easily escape. Hunger and malnutrition means less productive individuals who are more prone to disease and thus often unable to earn more and improve their livelihoods. 2 billion people in the world do not have regular access to safe, nutritious, and sufficient food. In 2019, 144 million children under the age of 5 were stunted, and 47 million were affected by wasting. More than 690 million people were undernourished in 2019, mainly in Asia and Africa. People experiencing moderate food insecurity are typically unable to eat a healthy, balanced diet on a regular basis because of income or other resources constraints. If these trends continue, an estimated 840 million people will go hungry by 2030. The situation is likely to deteriorate even further owing to COVID-19. We all want our families to have enough food to eat, what is safe and nutritious. A world with zero hunger can positively impact our economies, health, education, equality, and social development. Food security requires a multidimensional approach, from social protection to safeguard safe and nutritious food, especially for children, to transforming food systems to achieve a more inclusive and sustainable world. There will need to be investments in rural and urban areas and in social protection so poor people have access to food and can improve their livelihoods. Third sustainable goal is good health and well-being. To ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being is important to building prosperous societies. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has devastated health systems globally and threatens already achieved health outcomes. Most countries, especially poor countries, have insufficient health facilities, medical supplies, and healthcare workers for the surge in demand. The pandemic has shown that in rich and poor countries alike, a health emergency can push people into bankruptcy or poverty. Concerted efforts are required to achieve universal health coverage and sustainable financing for health, address the growing burden of zoonotic and non-communicable diseases, tackle antimicrobial resistance and environmental factors contributing to ill health, progress in many health areas such as in reducing maternal and child mortality, in increasing coverage of immunization, and in reducing some infectious disease continues, but the rate of improvement has slowed down, especially during COVID-19, which is overwhelming the health systems globally and threatens health outcomes already achieved. Immunization is one of the world's most successful and cost-effective health interventions. While vaccination coverage among infants increased from 72% in 2000 to 86% in 2018, an estimated 19.4 million children did not receive the essential vaccines during the first year of life. In fact, since March 2020, routine childhood immunization services have been disrupted on a scale not seen since the inception of the expanded program on immunization in the 1970s. In 2017, only around one-third to half of the global population was covered by essential health services. If current trends continue, only 39% to 63% of the global population will be covered by essential health services by 2030. The COVID-19 crisis has disrupted essential health services around the world. Some services have been suspended to free up resources for COVID-19 patients and to reduce the risk of transmission. If universal health coverage is to become a reality by 2030, growth in the provision and use of essential health services must greatly accelerate. You can hold your government, local leaders, and other decision makers accountable to their commitments to improve people's access to health and healthcare. Fourth sustainable development goal is quality education. Ensure inclusive and quality education for all and promote lifelong learning. Education enables upward socio-economic mobility and is a key to escaping poverty. Education helps reduce inequalities and reach gender equality and is crucial to fostering tolerance and more peaceful societies. Over the past decade, major progress has been made towards increasing access to education and school enrollment rates at all levels, particularly for girls. Nevertheless, about 258 million children and youth were still out of school in 2018, nearly one-fifth of the global population in that age group. As the COVID-19 pandemic spread across the globe, countries announced the temporary closure of schools, impacting more than 91% of students worldwide. By April 2020, close to 1.6 billion children and youth were out of school. The primary school completion rate reached 84% in 2018, up from 70% in 2000 and under current trends, is expected to reach 89% globally by 2030. The global adult literacy rate aged 15 years and older was 86% in 2018, while the youth literacy rate 15 to 24 years was 92%. Despite years of steady growth in enrollment rates, non-proficiency rates remained disturbingly high. In 2018, some 773 million adults, two-thirds of whom are women, remained illiterate in terms of reading and writing skills, and the sheer magnitude of school closure due to COVID-19 is likely to set back progress on access to education. Inequalities will worsen unless the digital divide, the gap between underconnected and highly digitized countries, is not addressed. Ask our governments to place education as a priority in both policy and practice. Lobby our governments to make firm commitments to provide free primary school education to all, including vulnerable or marginalized groups. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and share this video and do subscribe to this channel.